I love philosophy and shit. And it's like, who is to say what reality is? Like, reality is to the eye of the beholder kind of person. Like, if I think it's this, it is that to me because I'm not you. And in her mind, she was happy, in her dreams. But at the same time, it's also very sad because this person is forcing themselves to be away from their reality because they can't accept the reality that they're facing. And I kind of took part of that and I was like, I just want to kind of run with this, but write like an entire story about it, right?
So I'm here with Will Ramos. How are you, my friend?
Very good. How you doing, dude?
Yeah, good, man. I've heard that you're very, very busy preparing for tour in like 4 days' time.
Oh, you have no idea. It's been like a marathon. I feel like you get days off and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have time to do things. And then you don't. And I'm like, damn, this sucks, but it's fine. One more tour and then we got a little bit of off time. It's gonna be great.
So probably the most important question that everyone wants to know is how many Wilks were consumed during that Parkway Drive tour?
Oh, dude, we have had too many Wilks to count, honestly. Like, at first it was like a joke, but then we just kept doing it because we were like, you know what? Actually, this is like even it's great. I kind of don't hate it, but I kind of don't love it at the same time. So just like a rite of passage at a certain point. I'll tell you right now, there were many, many Wilks. Let's put it that say many.
Have you ever experimented with a rosé Wilk? Has things gone that far? Really?
Dude, you don't even. I have ideas, dude. Right now, we got red wine, and that's what we started with. But I'm a fan. You get some Riesling, like a nice white wine, and then you mix it with like some kind of like strawberry freaking like milk or something, dude. Like, come on, you may have something going on. Rosé too, like the possibilities are endless, endless.
Oh man. So of course your amazing new album Pain Remains is out there in the big bad world. So I wanted to talk primarily about that. I was just wondering if you could explain some of the lyrical themes behind the record.
Absolutely. So the whole record in itself is supposed to be like a concept record where it's telling a story about somebody who's trying to basically find their own happiness through whatever sort of way it be. Like in this specific situation, it's about through dreams and basically trying to find their happiness, finding it, but not being like happy with it, like finding out that the happiness that they found isn't exactly what they expected it to be. And then, finding a whole bunch of trials and shit that kind of hits them at the end. And by the time it's all over, they're like, dude, honestly, I just want to find another sort of happiness somewhere else because it's not here. And basically, like, they spends the entire record, like, realizing that, even if you're inside of a dream and you're in control of everything, sometimes you need those trials and shit to make things more human. And when you don't have that and you're just kind of like endlessly doing things for the sake of it, it doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? So by the time the whole thing is over, like the character has a love moment where, like, I don't know if you've ever fallen in love in a dream. I try to capture like moments like that. And that's like how the last Pain trilogy kind of goes. Like, it's just the like finding love in a dream, realizing it's not real, and then coming to this realization where it's just like, you know what, like at this point in the record, he's already freaking tired, and he's realized that this is the final straw, and then the final song is like the acceptance of like, okay, I'm not happy here, and almost like how a somebody who's in a ship, like a pilot, like not a pilot, a freaking captain,
Mhm.
and like it's going down, they want to go down with the ship because it's everything that they've made, everything that is them. And like, if the ship is going down, I'm going down with the ship. And that's pretty much how this person tries to, like, the last song encapsulates, or that is pretty much where we're going with that. But in this version, that ship is their dream and what they've made it to be and all of these things. So in a nutshell, that is where we went. I can go even deeper, but then we're gonna go song by song, and that's gonna take freaking forever. But that is where we're going with it.
Wow. Was that kind of is that sort of an idea that you had just out of the blue, or is that kind of from your own experience and things like that?
Well, it is kind of out of the blue, but at the same, we wanted to write something that was sad and a little bit of happy and like kind of gives hope, but then, kind of like a tragedy at the end. And I love stories. I love them. I love them. I love them. And I was thinking back to this one anime that Everyone always asks me which one it is. I don't know. I don't remember, to be really honest. It was like 15 years ago
Okay.
that I anime, but it was such a small part in the anime. It wasn't even like the main. There's a main actual story, and then there's one character in the anime who is just like totally shot, speaks really slowly. You're like, wow, this person is like my least favorite person in the entire anime, you know? And then it gets to the point where they tell you why this person is like this. And basically she fell in love in a dream. And then she realized that when she would wake up, she wasn't happy in this world. So she would end up taking sleeping pills all day so that she could sleep all her days away and pretty much be happy inside of her dreams because that's where she found her happiness. And, you know, in a way, I thought that was super bittersweet because, you know, like who is to say, you know, I love philosophy and shit. And it's like, who is to say what reality is? Like, reality is to the eye of the beholder kind of person. Like, if I think it's this, it is that to me because I'm not you, you know. And in her mind, she was happy, you know, in her dreams. But at the same time, it's also very sad because this person is forcing themselves to be away from their reality because they can't accept the reality that they're facing. And I kind of took part of that and I was like, I just want to kind of run with this, but write like an entire story about it, right? This person's not happy in their real life, you know, so they go into this dream world, they start creating things because if you're in a lucid dream, you can almost become like a god. And you know, that's just kind of how it is. And this person's creating things and just starting to realize, like, dude, like all I'm doing is making shit, but I'm not finding happiness in all of this. Like, this is what I feel like I should be doing, but I'm not finding happiness there. And you know, like I said, over the course of the couple songs, like Soulless Existence, they start to come to that realization. They start to find a little bit of happiness, which may be, you know, and freaking what is it? I think is it Apotheosis or that's the sixth song on the album. That's where they start to find like, you know, a little glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
And originally the whole album was supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 6, 8, 9, 10, but we moved 7 and 6 because it just sounded better like that, like not lyrically, but like all like the whole grand scheme of things. So got a little bit convoluted, but the idea is that they find that little glimmer of hope that gives them some kind of like reassurance that everything is going to be okay. And that is the love that they found in their dream, which is this person that again does not exist. And upon coming to that realization, they're just like, dude,
I'm done.
like, this is it. Like I was already here and I started to see that little glimmer of light and then it just completely disappeared. And now it's like, what is the point of even still being here? So they're like, you know what? I'm out. And that's pretty much that was where I went with it. You know, I know it's a little bit, it's very fictional, but I think there's also parts of it that people can relate to, you know, on like a personal level or, you know, anything really, like philosophical level. I love all those kind of things. So I try and bring all of my experiences together. So I brought some philosophy, I brought some mythology, I brought, you know, fiction, tragedy, all of that. So that's how we pretty much got to the Pain Remains album as a whole.
What was it like putting the concept album together? Because it sounds like it was pretty tricky trying to fit all of this like really quite big concept into something, you know, as singular as a record.
Well, I mean, there's only one way, you know, I mean, for me, like there's the way that I start things, obviously you got to start at step one. So like step one is what is the groundwork for all of these songs? Like we went in there very aware of what we wanted the songs to feel like before the album even existed. So like, for instance, we were like, okay, we want the first song to punch you in the head. How can we make a song that's like punches you in the head? And it's like, all right, we want the second song to be like a little bit of a, you know, a more chaotic song. And we want the next song to be more like this and the next song to be like that. And it's like, okay, so now I have like a little bit of a timeline, a very vague timeline. And it's like, I mean, just like how you start any story, you got to start, like I said, from the beginning. So I just try to take those moments where it's just like chaos, happiness, you know, sadness, and then write my own twist of that so that it follows the lyrics. And then, you know, you get to the end and then you were like, all right, we want a climactic ending and we want it to be sad, but a little bit happy. And I'm like, well, how can I feel that? You know, I love sad songs. I love love songs. That's the stuff that I listen to, the stuff that I like Sleep Token, great band. I love that because it's really sad and I can relate to it because it's about love. And it's, you know, a lot of people don't, especially in like this genre of music, they don't feel those kinds of things. Like they don't maybe they don't accept it, or it's just not like standard. Like people want angry music all the time. And, we wanted to put together something that Adam says this all the time. And I totally agree. We wanted to put something together that we want other bands to do, things that we like. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how we got to it. We didn't know where we were going, but we knew something similar to what we wanted to do. And then at that point, it was just a whole bunch of creativity and seeing how we can get everything to flow into one another. And again, it was good it was perfect up until that point where we had to switch 6 and 7. But again, like, I'm not upset about it, because that's what interviews are like this are for, because I could just tell people like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to go. It didn't happen like that. But, that's where sometimes things don't always work out the way you want them to.
Yeah.
That being album, still a fantastic album, and I'm very happy with it. So
of course, man. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things you really hit the nail on the head there. Like I've seen from like lots of fans' reactions and also my personal reaction. I feel like there's so much emotion that's like embedded in this, like in between the, like the gutturals and all this sort of stuff. There's just something that kind of sticks with people.
I agree. I don't know what it is. I think it's like, maybe it's the melodies, like combined with the vocals, combined with, who really knows, the orchestra. I don't know. At the end of the day, we loved it. And it's crazy to just see how people are connecting with it in their own way, because everybody tells me like, oh, this is my favorite song. I'm like, oh, that's your favorite song? That's weird. Oh, this is my favorite song. Oh shit. Like, I hear so many different favorite songs because they're all different, but similar at the same time.
I was wondering if you could sort of, speak a little bit about the artwork as well. Was that kind of, because the knife across the throat it's pretty visceral, but was that kind of like the thought that you had from like day one, or does it kind of like evolve? Or
a lot of evolving, trying to figure out what we think would fit the best. We didn't think we didn't know what it was going to look like when we first started in the studio. A lot of it came down to afterwards, like, how can we again make something that, something sad, something that's dark, but also like, I don't know, it's not exactly like a person killing themselves so much as it is just a blade on somebody's neck. So it can be interpreted so many different ways, but we felt like at the end of the day, like, if there's anything that, you could see from this, is that like this person's in pain. You don't just do these, you don't get to this point without being in pain. And that's just kind of how we got to it, honestly. And there's no exact reason. It was just like, this happens to look awesome. It fits the image and we like it. So it's kind of how we got it.
There's a lot of life in it as well, considering it's just like a still image. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I completely agree. It's funny because I've had people say, they're like, is that a leg or is that a foot? And I'm like, it's a neck, dude. Like, unless your leg hair is just really long and it's just like wild, but no judgments on that. But this is not that. This is somebody's neck, and that's their hair from their head.
So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about singing and things like that. So what was it that made you want to be a singer in the first place?
I remember being in high school and I went to a play, and I still talk to this guy to this day. He probably doesn't realize the impact that he had on me, though. But I remember it was a play, and I would always go to plays in my high school, and because it was just something to do. I'm freaking lame as hell, and I was like, this is cool. Oh, I'm gonna go watch a freaking play. And so I always watched all the plays, and this guy at one of them, it was like a musical play, so he did a lot of singing in it, and it was just crazy to see the moment that he walked into the auditorium, and like everybody was just like, woo, because they knew that he had the chops. And it was like an opera. It was like more like an opera song. So it's just straight clean singing and just like very like, I mean, not like pop music, like literally like opera style. So I love that kind of thing. And I remember he came out and everybody was just like loved it. And then when he finished playing, everybody clapped, and it was just like, in that moment, he was like the most important person in the entire room. And that moment was like so surreal for me. And I've always liked singing since I was a little kid. I wasn't very good at it. I think everybody kind of likes singing in a certain way until everyone realizes that they're not very good at it. And they see other people that are amazing at it. And you're like, all right, well, that's not going to be me, like, ever. you know? And so obviously I was into like heavy metal at the time, and I was actually playing guitar, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I just want to practice. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Like, I had an iHome. You got the little iPod. You plug it into the iHome.
Yeah, man.
Uh, it was back in the day when it was like the iPod Nano. So it was the first one with the camera.
Yeah,
It
man.
was totally crap. I actually ran it over with my skateboard and totally obliterated. But I'd bring it into the bathroom with me every day that I would take a shower, and I'd listen to like things like Lamb of God and like AFI and just all this stuff that like Bullet for My Valentine, things that I was really into when I was younger. But I remember just like trying to sing along. I don't know if I knew what I was doing was right. At this point, it was so long ago, it feels like a distant memory. Like it was
Yeah.
literally 14, 15 years ago for me. So again, I don't know when it started, but I remember just like, I think my friend was sleeping over and he was somewhere else in the house. And I was just screaming in the shower. And then I walked out of the shower and and then like he fucking came upstairs later and he was like, yo, dude, was that you screaming? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, dude, you're actually pretty decent. And he was like, and I was like, really? You like it? When you're trying to figure out how to do vocals, especially me, I was the least confident. And to this day, I am still not confident in anything that I do until I know that it's really developed. So when it comes to singing, I don't like to post singing stuff or sing in front of people, but I'll do it on my own time so that I can get good at it. But this is one of those things where like I was like, damn, I suck at this, but you like it. So, maybe I'll just like keep trying. I think we started listening to the last 10 seconds of life. And then he was like, dude, you gotta try one of these to do one of these. And I just started like, again, I guess practice. I was more inspired to want to try new things, especially because I had that seal of approval from my friend who actually got me into death metal and deathcore and all heavy metal in general. Because I used to be like a classic rock dude, and then when he was like, "Dude, you got that, you could do it," and I was just like, "Oh shit, okay, let's go," and then I kind of just took off from there. Like I didn't join a band for many years because wasn't confident, you know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure I had everything down before I joined the band. So I spent so many years just like practicing this technique, thinking that I knew what I was doing when I kind of didn't exactly know what I was doing. A lot of trial and error. And I guess here I am, still in my mind, still trial and erroring it out. But people are hyped about it, so I'm like, all right,
Did,
pretty
th-
sick.
did that ever, because obviously you got asked to join the band on tour, and that's like, the first time that we met on the Faces of Death tour. It was like the last show I saw pre-pandemic. But, you're saying about the sort of lack of confidence. Did that ever kind of make you think, oh, I don't know, should I do this? I'm not really sure. Like,
Oh yeah, dude. Like that's been my thing. I've always been like that. I always get in my head about shit. And that's definitely one thing I get in my head, especially about like being super insecure about my vocals. And I remember the first time that I joined the band, and we were doing that first Berlin show in
mhm.
Germany, and I was like panic attacking myself before I even got on the stage because I was just like, dude, I'm gonna go up here, I'm gonna fucking suck. Everyone's gonna hate it. They want this, and I'm just here to give them this, which is not that, you know. But I mean, it's just like anything else. You make it through the first hurdle, and then the second hurdle is a little bit easier, and the third, and then you start to get more comfortable with yourself. And then now I realize that I don't have to try to do anything else that somebody else is doing. I can just do my own thing, and people will still like it. So confidence just takes a long time to develop sometimes, but I'm just happy that I'm happier with where I am now than where I was before.
Absolutely, man. But I'm almost certain that everyone would say you are one of the strongest vocalists out there. It's like the versatility, the power, all this sort of stuff. Like, and you have your own sound, most importantly, I think.
I mean, yeah, I found out recently that I did like a vocal nasal endoscopy thing that what I thought I was doing. So since obviously I was screaming in my shower for like years, I never had an actual vocal coach. So I always thought that, oh yeah, like I'd watch a video online and I'd see this guy doing like a false chord scream. And I'm like, aha, this sounds like a false chord scream. that means it must be that. And then out, like when I did the nasal endoscopy thing, that I was telling the lady like what I do, and she was just, and then she did the thing and the camera down my throat, and they were like, "Yeah, you are not doing any of those things that you thought you were doing." And I was just like, "Oh, I don't know why I sound different than other people, but I think it's again, it's one of those things where you can hit your head against the wall so many times and it won't work. But then one day you'll hit your head on the wall and you'll go through the wall and you'll be like, shit, I beasted. Now I know how to go through the wall. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you could just enter the door the right way, like how people do it. Or you can get really good at slamming your head on the wall. And then now you have a hard head and now I can slam my head through the damn wall. Why would I need a door? And so that's just kind of how, it's the weirdest way to describe it, but that's just kind of how it ends up.
Of course, man. It's like you said. It sounds like you kind of just discovered it yourself as well. But I was going to ask you about because I watched the Charismatic Voice video, and I was going to say, what did you learn about your vocals that you hadn't necessarily before? Was it aside from when you're like, oh, I'm doing this, but I'm actually not doing that kind of thing?
Well, I learned that I definitely can't give vocal lessons to anybody, like at all. Like I thought I totally could because I was like, again, like, oh, this is what you're doing. Now listen to me do it. Boom. And then they do it and they're just like, and I'm like, oh, why don't, yeah, it takes practice, learn it. And then, I mean, if there's anything that I learned from that is that there's always a right way and there's another way. There's a million different ways to get to the same road. And, I just kind of found my own way and it's not bad. And they said it wasn't bad for me. My voice is very healthy. They say it looks good. They say like the things that I'm doing, and you could see it in the video. It's like you would see normal vocal cords. And if they were getting brutalized, you would see them getting brutalized while I was doing it. But I would do it a different way and they would not be getting, and you could see that the vocal cords are totally intact. They're totally fine. But again, it's not the way that people most usually learn how to do those kind of things. So I remember they were saying one thing, like usually when you do a voice, when you scream or when you sing or when you do anything, you're a very symmetrical, I don't know what you would call it.
Larynx or something, is it maybe?
That's probably the word. I don't know, dude. And there was one thing that they saw in the video. They were like, your voice is not symmetrical, like at all. Like one side is doing one thing, which is like whatever, and the other side is completely compensating for the other side by just like coming over. And I don't even know how to describe that besides saying that you just got to watch the damn video. But to learn that about myself, I was like, wow. And the guy even said to me because we had the #1 freaking vocal scientist of the world there, and he was just like, honestly, I've never seen anything like this before. Like he clearly learned on his own, because if he did the right way, my voice will probably be more symmetrical. But it's not. So the thing I learned about myself is that I guess I'm a unicorn and I can't give people lessons. I just gotta stay in my lane and hope it works out at the end.
It's the old banging your head against the wall principle.
It works. Technique. It's a technique, dude. I'm spreading it.
So you've clearly mastered like a hell of a lot of styles, but is there any sort of like uncharted territory out there or
singing? I mean, I always practice it, like I said, and I'll sing on my own. So, but in my mind, I'm still not 100% there where I want to be. I'm not like, if I'm like, oh, I want to do this right now, I may have to warm up a little bit and then find that one spot where I want to be. I'm like, all right, now I'm here. I'm comfortable. That takes me so much time, and I'm still not confident enough to be able to just pull that out for others. So honestly, for me, that's probably like my uncharted territory. I'm very comfortable as far as everything else, like vocally screaming and stuff. I kind of just figure it out on my own. I think I do more things than I've heard a lot of people do. And so at this point, I don't know of anything that I'm incapable of doing besides singing properly. So
Fair enough. That'll be on the next Lorna Shore LP, right?
I hope so, man. I'm trying to push for it. That's when we become the freaking radio rock band. Everyone's gonna be like, man, Lorna Shore sucks, dude. What happened? And they got off. Now they do singing and shit. Like, hey, man, if bands develop, and maybe we'll get there. But I'll tell you right now, the rest of the band don't want it, but I want it. So,
So I've been kind of, reading up and watching lots of other interviews, and I saw that you mentioned that your sister was an author and your dad reads a lot of books and stuff. So do you feel like you were naturally drawn to the arts because of your family, your upbringing, and things like that?
definitely not to the art of doing music. Like I'm actually one of the only musicians that are actually in the band or in my family because I don't know, nobody really got into it. Everyone's very Puerto Rican, so there's a lot of like salsa music, bachata, like all that other stuff that is just like not this world. But if there's anything that I feel like I did get from it was that like my own form of doing what you would call English class, like
Mhm.
how my dad's form of English class was always reading books. My sister's form of English class is writing stories and shit. I was like, for me, my version of that I feel like I bring to the table is like I love poetry. And so, not necessarily reading other people's poetry, but like me making shit. And I remember being in high school and I would always send things to my teachers and they would be like, yeah, you should come talk about it after class. Let's talk about it. And then I was just like, yeah, I'm not doing that because I get too nervous, too anxious, overthinking the crap out of everything. I tell you, that's me. That's been me since I was in high school. But, I feel that like all these things that I've been doing, my family, all these things, it brought me to now when I'm writing songs, I'm not just writing a song, I'm writing a story. That's my form of English class. But I'm not just writing a story, I'm writing like a poetic story. So, in a way, and then like my dad was always into philosophy and mythology. So I kind of got into philosophy a little bit, like and I just loved that kind of stuff. And I think in a way, like they influenced me to this day more than I'm aware of it. At this point, I just feel like this is just what I do. But really thinking back to like what the rest of my family does, it's like, wow, like maybe somebody from the outside who knows my family and knows me would be like, it's expected that Will would eventually go down this hole. But you don't see those things growing up. You're just like, yeah, this is just who I am. I love to scream, and it's like, oh wait, now I'm screaming poetry, and
Yeah.
I'm like now I'm screaming poetic songs about stories. And I don't know what brought me here, but I think it's a lot of that stuff, a lot of the things that I'm not aware of.
But it sounds like it's almost kind of, sort of full circle, really, because you mentioned about, the first time you saw that person go up on stage and, kind of like completely grab the room's attention. And now you've got, the combination of poetry, but, in lyrics and things like that. So it's all kind of coming together, I guess.
I think so too. Honestly, like I said, I would never expect to be here, but I am very happy that it all ended up working out. And I still keep up with that guy too from high school. Sometimes like I hit him up. I'm like, yo, what the hell's up, man? His name is Will Flame. So Will Ramos, Will Flame, crazy world. I don't know how it happened to be honest, but got the same name. Basically, he's still an opera guy, so he's given me opera lessons since then
No
because I
way.
love opera is really cool. And I think some of the things that actually that's a place that I'd like to go as far as singing, talking about things that it's uncharted territory. I would love to throw more like opera-y vocals in there. Like you listen to Flesh God Apocalypse and stuff, and you hear these things that you don't normally hear in metal, and you're like, wow, that's kind of really cool. I would love to venture down there at some point because I don't know. Still, that guy is still killing it to this day. I think he works in the city as a vocal dude, whatever the hell he's doing.
Mhm.
It's definitely full circle. Though. I've hit him up before and I've been like, yo, dude, like you are the reason why I do what I do. I just want to let you know that. And I actually remember when I was in high school with him and I was like screaming and I was like, dude, we got to do a cover of one of these In Flames songs from like years ago. I think it was the song Scream by In Flames. It was. I love that song. And he was like, that song's really hard, vocally. I don't know if you're gonna be able to get it. I was just like, dude, I fucking love it. Let's go. And the cover at all, like typical, everybody wants to do a cover. And you never end up getting it done in the end. But yeah, definitely full circle. Long story short, bring it all back. It's definitely a full circle. I did not expect to be back doing what I'm doing still to this day.
It's amazing, man.
It is very, it's inspiring to myself. It keeps us like, wow, I'm doing really good. All this shit. I wanted to manifest these things and they all kind of just happened. What's next?
Absolutely, man. So finally, what would you say that Pain Remains means to you? Like that you've made this album, and like what's its sort of lasting impact on you?
Well, for me, Pain Remains is like I said, it was my baby. It is, I think it is a culmination of everything that I've ever experienced in my life. Like maybe not necessarily story wise, but like maybe there's some elements obviously that like everybody experiences. So obviously, I'm there. But it is, again, it's a culmination of all the things that I've grown to be and the person that I am now, be it through the poetry, be it through the story writing, the all the vocal stuff that I've ever done, just doing random things and then finding out that it worked somehow. Like this is the representation of me, and you don't think, I didn't think about that when I was writing it, obviously, but looking back to all of it, it's like, I don't know, it means the world to me to be doing what I'm doing. And it speaks to me the way I want music to speak to other people. I hope.
Absolutely.
Question.
Yeah, of course, man. Absolutely. Well, it's been a real pleasure to have you on the channel, Will. Thank you so much for taking the time out because I know you're a busy fella.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.